Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to the Sandwich of Coherency. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. Recently, the Supreme Court has made some major rulings and people are actually paying attention to them. They make many rulings every year. Nobody has any idea. Why? Because the media can't get views off of it, so they don't push it. They only push the things that they know are going to cause a whole lot of vitriol, which will get them more clicks, which means more money for ads. But the reality here is that one of the major ones they struck down was the New York concealed carry permit law they had, which is absolutely unconstitutional because they wanted you to provide them with some sort of justification of why you should be able to carry. Because it's my constitutional right, buddy. I mean, the rights of the people to bear arms shall not be infringed, buddy. But according to New York, they don't want to abide by the Supreme Court. They're going to fight it. They're going to challenge it. It went all the way up there, and you lost at the highest court in the land. Oh, but that's not good enough for you. And this is because Mayor Adams and the Governor Herschel, whatever her name is, Hochul of New York, as well as many Democrats, have actually forgotten what the Constitution is, what it's supposed to do, and what it stands for. And they've actually forgotten what the Supreme Court's job is. They don't make laws. They examine rulings and laws to make sure they are constitutional. And what you had done was unconstitutional. Why do citizens need guns? Why should they be allowed to be armed? Just in case of a situation where your government gets tyrannical, or in a situation where, I don't know, you want to protect your life. You're receiving death threats. You live in a major city. You live in a crowded major city where crime is rising through the roof. New York's been releasing violent criminals for the past couple years, and crime has gotten worse. And according to them, it's not their fault. It's not their fault at all. They believe that citizens shouldn't be armed. And this is their view is that the only people that should have guns or have guns around them are politicians and officers of the state, i.e. the federal government, not just your individual state. Think about this here. The people surrounded by guns don't want people whose lives can actually be at risk to have guns. They tell you, oh, there's no situation that you require a gun. Coming from the people that are surrounded by people with guns that are rarely, if ever, in a situation to where their lives are in danger. I mean, oh yes, I know they're talking about January 6th. No, your lives weren't in danger. We all know that. We all know that. Just like AOC screaming, my life was in danger. You were somewhere else. People who were near your office pointed out your office is somewhere else. You were not there. So the people that surround themselves with weapons don't think the general populace need weapons. This is the reason why they put that in there. That's one of the main reasons. Because an armed government doesn't usually work out well for the people. Now, people will say that, oh, we're not a tyrannical government. Come on, when's that ever going to happen again? When you think about this, people think they jump straight to the violence. Look, you don't have to have blood in the street. You don't have to have the government sending soldiers through and gathering people up and shit like that. There's a lead up to it. It's not just flip a switch on and all of a sudden we're killing everybody. No, there's a lead up to it. You don't just flip a switch and we're imprisoning everybody. No, there is a lead up to it. Same thing that happened with the old USSR. There was a lead up to it. Same thing with China. There was a lead up. Same thing with the Nazis. Same thing with Vietnam. Even Korea. Venezuela. Brazil. There's a lead up to these things. There's a change in the public sphere. Typically there is a drive to get the citizens to oppose the other party. To oppose all other leaders. Now, when the group telling you to oppose the other side is also the same group saying we need to take away your ability to defend yourself, you should be screaming to high heaven that this is some bullshit. Because something is obviously afoot. And the crazy thing is they say, pay attention to history because those who don't are bound to repeat it. But what they didn't prepare you for is the fact that there were people who would pay attention to it. And now they're begging for it. They're absolutely begging for it. You have people... I'm not going to get too far off. Okay, I've had this up on the screen for a minute. And let's go ahead and jump right into this article by Business Insider. Clarence Thomas says American citizens are seemingly more interested in their iPhones than their Constitution. And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. Because this brings me to the next thing. But give it a second. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas expressed disappointment that more Americans weren't attuned to the Constitution and remaining vigilant about the protection of liberties. You see, during the conversation with the magazine, he said, I think we as citizens have lost interest, and that's been my disappointment. That certainly was something that bothered Justice Scalia, that people tend to be more interested in their iPhones than their Constitution. They're interested in what they want rather than what is right as a country. And that's, true too, people. It is still a nation. It is still a nation, okay? I'm not giving you an idea. I'll give you an example. This kind of deals with the idea of immigration. You can want to house, let's say you have a 2-bedroom house, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. You could want to house everybody in your neighborhood, say 300 people. You may want to house them all. But what's right for your house is to not. Why not? Because you can't fit that many people. You have to take care of them. You are now responsible for them. You have to feed them. You can apply that to whatever you want, but I think you get where I'm going with it. When PAC asked whether the loss of interest among the general population was a burden for the Supreme Court, Thomas said no. No, it's a burden on them, the citizens, he said. They're going to lose their liberties. When Thomas was asked whether the Supreme Court served to protect liberties, he said the 9-member body was only part of the effort. Gosh darn it, he's right. They're only part of it. You actually have to get out as a citizen. You have to go out and find out who's running for office. You are responsible to learn what their platform and policies are, not the media. It's not their job. They just tell you what they want you to hear that kind of gets the most clicks. And the reason I'm bringing this up, the whole point of this is the fact that They made this ruling about Roe versus Wade, and they overturned it. Now, if you've paid attention and caught any of the previous episodes, I gave you the full history of how that came about. So we're not going to jump into that because I don't want to have a whole thing about that again. I've done a few episodes. Just check the previous ones, and that will actually lead you right up to this point here. But the reality is that they struck it down. Why? Because it's unconstitutional. That's the reality of it. The Supreme Court's job is constitutionality. Is a decision constitutional? Is a law constitutional? Okay, because the whole idea is that the platform originally of the United States. Let me bring this up real quick. And reading this from Wikipedia. But as it says with the U.S. state, let's see. In the United States, a state is a constituent political entity of which there are 50 bound together in a political union. Each state holds governmental jurisdiction over a separate and defined geographic territory where it shares its sovereignty with the federal government. Okay? Due to this shared sovereignty, Americans are citizens both of the federal republic and of the state in which they reside. Give you an example. You're a citizen of Wales, which is also part of the European Union, kind of idea. You're a citizen of, Lithuania, but you're still part of you're also a member of the European Union. That kind of, it's the best I could correlate it to it, I guess, But the whole point is that each state is individual. And a lot of people don't know. And see, this is what Thomas is talking about. It's not just the federal constitution. Each state has its own constitution. North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Kentucky, Wyoming, California, Hawaii, Arizona, New Mexico, South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas. You get the idea. They all have their own constitution. So everybody who's upset about this ruling with Roe versus Wade doesn't understand that what they've done is send it back down to the states. The media is telling you, oh, they've banned abortion. Your Democratic politicians are telling you, oh, they banned abortion. No, they send it back down to the individual states. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that all these states have good rules. I will admit, some of these states have some these laws that they have dealing with abortion need to be checked. But this is what I'm talking about. As a citizens, you have the right to vote people into office that are willing to work on your behalf. If you want abortion to be a state right, you want it to be mandated, you can add it to your constitution. You can make it a law. Because understand, the Democrats have had the opportunity for years to codify Roe versus Wade, to make abortion laws. They've had multiple supermajorities where they could have gotten it done, and they didn't get it done. And let me tell you why. This is my theory. The reason I think they didn't get it done is because they knew, they felt that there was no chance. They never thought that the Supreme Court would actually overturn Roe versus Wade. So because of that, they use that to their advantage. What did they do? They kept bringing it up to you every election cycle. They're going to get rid of abortion. They're going to get rid of abortion. They're going to get rid of abortion. The Republicans want to get rid of abortion. Vote for me and I'll keep your rights to abortion. Okay? That's what they kept saying. They keep saying that to you every election cycle. It's kind of like they do with black people. So, why? Because that's what they use as a platform. It's election time. And once again, they were running on that as a platform. They just didn't expect that right before the elections that the Supreme Court was going to flip the switch on that. And the lights are slowly turning on. The lights are finally clicking in many citizens' heads right now that the federal government is not your friend. You got to do what you have to do in your state. The federal government They're not supposed to have this much authority. They're not supposed to have that much power. And for everybody saying that, we don't need old white men telling me what to do with my body. It was not white men that passed Roe versus Wade. So throw that one out the window. Also, one of the justices, Clarence Thomas. Apparently he's not black according to Democrats. But before I say anything about that real quick, I just want to point out, this is your opportunity. Learn how the government works. If you learn how it works, changes would be made and people wouldn't be out in the street yelling and screaming, running around naked. Which isn't, I don't understand that shit. But, and again, what's happening now is that the Democrats didn't get their way. And so what do? They resort to racism, lies, and everything else. Clarence Thomas is now not black, okay? So here's the deal. Okay, so now you have white liberals saying absolutely racist things about Clarence Thomas. Like things that if it was any other brown skinned person, people would be like, oh shit, that's racist. You can't say that, man. No, but because he didn't do what they said, and this is what people don't understand. If you're a minority of any kind of minority and you don't do what the Democrats say, you automatically become a white supremacist. Simple as that. That is their game plan. All right? Because they've said this. Only minorities should be voting for Democrats. You shouldn't be voting Republican if you're a minority. And the thing is, and this is what I want to point out here, is people keep bringing up race and all this. And look, understand right now what the Democrats are doing with this whole, we're going to add more judges, we're going to do this, we're going to change this. This should scare you. This should scare you because they literally just telling you, we didn't get our way. So we're going to change the rules and how it works. And people forget that your party won't always be the ones in charge. Your guy might not always be the one in charge. And you're setting a precedent so that the next party, when the Republicans take over, they can follow in that same playbook. It's one of the reasons they had trouble during the Nuremberg trials with the freaking Nazis. Why? Because the United States set the precedent with Margaret Sanger. The Nazis actually got it from her. When you do a little bit of history, a little bit of studying on this whole shit, you find out the connections. Before I go too far, and this episode goes too long, I want to say this. People keep talking about, the argument they keep saying is that this is going to affect minorities, this is going to affect black women, black women, black women. It's always black women, black women, black women. Look, let me give you some numbers here. I've given them before, but let me give them one more time. These are mostly in Democratic-led cities. This is where the highest rate of abortions are happening in the United States. Okay? Listen to what I'm saying here. They've been in charge of these areas for so long. People keep voting for this shit for so long. Nobody wants to address what problems are leading to such high rates of these cases. Okay? African Americans, there's only 42 million of them in the United States. They make up 12% of the population. So, think about this. Since 1973, there have been about 60 million abortions, 20 million of them being African American. So think about this. Let me put this in a bigger perspective. 6% of the population is responsible for 1/3. 6%. 6% of the population is responsible for 1/3 of the entire United States abortion rates for the past 50 years. You don't think that's a problem? Everybody keeps saying, this is going to affect the black women and the poor people. Bro, I don't think they need any more of your help. You've helped enough. Seriously. When you have places like New York that are having more abortions than live births of an entire race of people. You need to wake up. This is a problem that needs to be addressed. There is a larger problem at stake. I'm not trying to tell anybody what you can and can't do with your body. You do whatever the fuck you want. Do whatever you want. But there are realities that we have to accept, and we can't ignore that. If you ignore that, then you're part of the problem. As far as I'm concerned, that's what makes you the racist. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to say this last thing. Women have spent years begging, pleading, screaming, give us maternity leave. We want maternity leave. We want businesses to give us maternity leave so I can have a child. And they said, fuck you. I ain't giving you shit. You want to have a child, you do it on your own. That's you. Same people. If you want to kill the baby, we'll pay for it. Think about this. You can take that statement how you want. You can say, it's not killing the baby, it's not human, it's just a fetus. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The company is more willing to pay you to stop life so that you can get back to work. Think about that. The company is willing to pay for you to travel across state lines to have an abortion. But they can't be bothered to give you maternity leave. You think about where those priorities are. But I thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.